Let's Talk Prevention Idaho. This podcast is a production led by the statewide nonprofit Community Coalitions of Idaho, or CCI. Here at CCI, it is our job to support the work of prevention across the state of Idaho through education, training, and providing valuable resources. We help make the work of prevention happen all across Idaho. This podcast will update listeners on what CCI is doing from week to week, as well as provide information for vital professionals in Idaho across the country. How's it going, everybody? David here with Let's Talk Prevention Idaho, and we are here talking to Stephan Hill from Speak Sobriety, and we have him, since we had a chance to bring him to Idaho, we figure, why let him leave? We might as well just lock him down and keep him in the state forever, right? Just make Idaho his new base of operations. No, we are going to have Stephan hang out for a few days in Idaho, and he's going to be doing a speaking tour, and he's going to be out sharing his story with, majority of them are going to be assemblies with kids, but we're going to have some really cool community groups scattered across the state that are going to host Stephan for speaking engagements. So we want to give a chance to talk a little bit about what he's going to be doing, where he's going to be, and how you might possibly be able to see Stephan speak. So Stephan, how you doing?
Doing great. Thanks for having me on, David.
So Stephan's going to start off with our Fall Prevention Conference, and then he's going to start speaking directly after his last keynote with our conference. We're looking at an opportunity in the Moscow area, and then he's going to be just literally cruising on down the state. So what is your, tell us a little bit about you, and what does your message look like for the kids that are going to be in these assemblies? If the parents know their kids are going to be in one of these assemblies, kind of what are the kids going to be getting in these assemblies that the parents might want to know about?
Absolutely. So the title of my presentation is The First Choice and a Second Chance. And the title is not just, something I just threw out there. I put a lot of thought into it. And the first choice is the primary prevention piece, right? That the choices you make today can and will affect you for the rest of your life. But I also understand that not everybody's perfect, and that you are going to make mistakes in your life. Some people will make small mistakes. Some people will make big mistakes. Some people are going to have some major struggles, and that's where the second chance piece comes into play. I want people to understand that just because you end up going down the wrong path doesn't mean you can't change your journey, right? And that's what my story is all about, is I made some pretty poor choices when I was younger. I don't think anybody goes into it with the intention of becoming addicted or destroying their life or just making one bad choice under the influence. That's one thing I talk about a lot with young people is, you don't have to be addicted to drugs and alcohol to suffer major consequences. And that's even more so true today because of fentanyl, and you're just seeing people overdose and die on the first use. And so I'd really try and get people to see how much their choices can affect them for the rest of their life, but to also understand that you can come out of it. You got to be willing to ask for help. If you're someone who has a friend or a brother or a sister who's starting to go down the wrong path, don't wait until things get really bad. Go speak to a counselor, a parent, a coach, a teacher, a principal, whoever you think is in the best position to help that person. They may react negatively if they learn you're the person who spoke up, but you don't know, you may have saved that person's life by doing so. And so, I really try and focus on choices. I focus on stigma. People think, what does a life of someone suffering from addiction look like? And this it affects all different walks of life. It's also important not to judge those who are going through it because it only makes things worse.
Yeah.
Talk a lot about leadership. Every year you get older, your actions matter more and more. If you're a senior and you're a captain of a sports team, let me tell you, your other players, the freshmen, the sophomores, the juniors, they are all looking up to you. And it can even be worse if you're the kid who drinks alcohol every once in a while, maybe you smoke marijuana, you vape, and you're not suffering major negative consequences right away. Some people might look at you and say, look, that person doesn't, and everything seems fine. But it's important to know that everyone's different. And just because it doesn't get out of control right away doesn't mean it's not going to. I have some friends who made it all the way through middle school, high school, and college, and it caught them in their early to mid 20s. You can't say who it's going to happen to. So your actions matter for more than just yourself. Leadership is so important. When you take on that leadership role, you think about how you're going to act first, which helps you. And by being part of the solution, you're influencing other people in a positive way. I will share a lot about consequences. I will share about the consequences of my actions and the choice I made and what I had to go through because of those poor choices. But like I said before, the last piece of it really is about the second chance or resilience and being able to ask for help, to come out of it, to find strength in overcoming your struggle. And like I said in a different interview, turning your mess into a message.
Yeah, if you want to learn more about Stephan's journey to where he is today and that amazing phrase, turning your mess into a message, check out the podcast that we put out before this, because that'll answer a lot of those questions. You'll learn a lot more about Stephan and his journey. It's great that you talked about leadership, because I have a daughter who's starting her 8th grade year this year, and she complained about the 8th graders in 6th and 7th grade about how mean they were and what they did and stuff, and telling her, okay, now it's your turn to be the 8th grader you always wanted to have. Like, you're now top dog on campus kind of thing. How are you going to treat the 6th and 7th graders that are now, the underclassmen below you? Are you going to do it the way that, are you going to do the way that they did, the other 8th graders did you, or are you going to be a better example? So it's really cool that you work that you remind the kids that they have that leadership responsibility when others are looking at them.
Yeah, and it's so important today. And there are some kids that are just natural leaders too, right? People are just drawn to them. And if you can take on that role, again, you think about your actions, so it helps you by making sure you're making healthy choices. You're making healthy choices, and when you do that, you're setting an example for other people. It's a win-win-win. You don't even know how many wins you can have as a result of that. So to me, it's very important, and it's very hard. You think about it, right? You go into middle school as a 6th grader, you're at the bottom. 2 years later, you're an 8th grader, you're at the top, right? Like you said, the top dog, and then all of a sudden the next year you're back down at the bottom again, and you're not at the top again until 12th. And then if you're someone who wants to go to college, then you're back down at the bottom again. So those transition phases for kids are pivotal moments. They are. And for me, the transition from middle school to high school is really where it all started for me. And it was influence from older peers. That's where it started. And I don't blame them, because when I was the older peer, I became the negative influence. And then when those people became the older peer, they were the negative influence. So you get a vicious cycle of negative influence from one generation to the next. And what we need to do is really to empower people to understand you can choose what type of influence you want to have. It's on you.
And one of the things that in one of the areas they're talking about, okay, I want the kids to get something out of this, but what are if the teachers and the principals that are in the assembly, kind of keeping the kids, keeping the peace kind of thing, what are they going to learn while they're sitting there listening? Like, so what are some of the things that our administrators and our teachers might be able to get out of your presentation that might make them better teachers and leaders of the school campus?
Yeah, and so naturally, when I share my story, I get pretty common questions asked by teachers and administrators, and it has to do with middle school students playing high school sports, in-school suspension, out-of-school suspension, expulsion, kicking kids off sports teams, labeling kids bad kids, things like that is what comes up, especially when I speak. Sometimes I'll speak I'll share the same story with just teachers, administrators, and counselors. And it's a way of switching your thinking of how you approach discipline. Some people just like to take the punitive measure where, okay, what's in this person's life? Sports is gone. What's in this person's life? School is gone for 10 days. I once talked to a school district, well, not the school district, but the coalition associated with the district, whose policy on drug and alcohol use was 90 days out of school suspension. 90
months.
No, 90 days, 3 months out of school suspension for possession, under the influence. I mean, it just out of control. What do you do with that kid? If we know in the simplest terms, school is a protective factor, sports are a protective factor, why are you removing those things from a young person's life and just left their own devices? They're going to come to the conclusion and be able to change all their actions and behavior. No, it's our job to add more protective factors in that kid's life. So that's what I would hope that the teachers and administrators will see, is that it's not just all about punishment and calling a kid a bad kid or screaming or yelling. It's about taking a different approach with these young people.
Yeah, and I have a child development degree, and one of the things we learn is why middle schoolers are some of the most difficult kids to teach, is because they're still children, but we give them all these adult responsibilities, but then we tell them they can't do these certain things. So they're in this constant, and then they have puberty. So this constant turmoil of body changes and different expectations from moment to moment. It's a super turbulent time. So then add in any type of peer pressure or, substance abuse, and what are they supposed to do with all that, right?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
So you're gonna be in Moscow. You're gonna be so far Clearwater, looks like Lapway, and then you're gonna be down in McCall, Donnelly, Cascade area for a day, and then you're going to finish up down in Canyon and Ada counties. Are you ready for all these speaking engagements?
I am ready. I did something similar in Oklahoma in March, Virginia as well. I'm scheduled to do something in Pennsylvania in September, where I'm hitting 5 high schools in 5 days. So right now it's not even a job for me anymore. I really love what I do. It's a passion of mine. I've put so much time and effort into being able to learn how to speak and present and connect with people. So I look forward to doing this. And while I still have that fire, I'm going to continue to do it.
Yeah, and this is an amazing thing, because sometimes we get demonized for bringing people from outside of Idaho, but what's neat is when we have the opportunity to bring a nationwide speaker like Stephan to Idaho, we need to maximize the opportunity. So that's what we're hoping to do here with CCI, is to provide opportunity for as many of our coalitions to have this opportunity. I remember one of the principals, as I was corresponding with her and the coalition director for her perspective area, she was like, tell these questions like, so how much is this going to cost me? Because I don't have a budget, and like all these questions. And I'm like, nope, we got that all taken care of. And like, is this a promotion for CCI? You have to get approval for that. I'm all, nope, actually, I don't care if you say anything about CCI. I just want Stephan to have a chance to speak to the students. And she was like, oh, well, that's amazing. Of course, sure. So it was like, oh, wait, this is a really easy ask then, because you're not expecting anything out of me but just to make the kids available. So because so many times it's hard to get into schools, right? Because they have budget issues. And
I mean, yeah, the red tape, the approvals, we want to do this, we want to do that. It is honestly, I think it's nothing short of a miracle that I've been able to speak for as many schools as I have. Because yeah, there are plenty of times where I get approval from the coalition, from the prevention people, and then they bring it to the district and they're like, no, we don't want this, or no, we don't have that problem here. But I will say that in the almost now 7 years that I've been doing this officially, I am seeing progress with that, where people are understanding more and more that our job as educators is not just to teach a subject, it's to teach children. It's to teach them more than just chemistry or history or English. It's teaching them about life and what they're exposed to. And right now, especially, this topic is more important than ever before. So I'm going to keep on doing it. And I appreciate the support from the coalitions and schools that do believe in me and in my mission.
Yeah, and like we said with fentanyl, it's an even more pressing issue because kid could accidentally get taken. I mean, we heard from one of the DA agents for this area, and he said, if your parents or your doctor didn't give it to you, don't put it in your mouth. Is basically the message that they're trying to get to the kids, because kids are kids and they trust you, and they'll even, people ask me all the time, how young should we be talking to kids about drugs and alcohol? I'm all, third grade. Third grade. Parents are like, what? I'm all, third grade. You really want to make sure that the message sticks and that you get as much attention. Third grade, sadly, it's that young now.
I
So
know, I know, I know. I've heard third, I've heard fourth, and I would say fourth is the latest, because you want to start. I mean, you're not going to talk to them the way that I do. I mean, I don't speak really lower than the lowest I've ever gone is fifth. I feel like it's a little bit, it's not inappropriate, it's a little bit over their head. But you want to start having those talks before the exposure. That's the reason why I like what you're saying, is because you don't want to have the talk after the fact. You want to already have that conversation, let your kid know your expectations, let them know the risks. This is not something that we do, and we don't want you going down that path. If you see people doing it, this is what you do. Like, you have to have those talks beforehand, because kids are faced with negative influence and temptation on a daily basis.
yeah, if you're waiting for those of us in prevention to save your kid, that's a dangerous game, because we normally don't get into your schools and elementary schools. So you really should be having those conversations. And my kids grew up with me hearing it. So my daughter, I swear she's gonna get me in a fight one day, because she'll scream out the window, "Daddy, that guy's doing drugs. He's smoking a cigarette in his car." And I'm like, honey, that's not okay. That's not good for him, but he's allowed to do that. So I told my wife, I said, one day this girl's gonna get me into a fight, because some guy's gonna get all offended because my daughter said he was doing drugs. But it is what it is. But at least they know. My
Yes,
kids
exactly.
know that those aren't things that we do. So you know what? I'll run the risk of a potential altercation someday, as long as my kids don't fall into substance abuse issues. I mean, that's what we want as parents, right? You're a parent, a first time parent recently too. That's what you want for your kid, right?
That's right. That's right. My daughter's a little bit over 4 months old now. And I do feel different. I do feel different. And I've been asked that question, actually. She was born April 2nd, and then the speaking engagements that I had afterwards, and I was very busy in April and May. And I started, sharing that I recently became a father, and people had asked me that question, when are you going to talk to your daughter about this? And how are you going to tell her your story? And I want her to know my story. Obviously, I have to deliver it in a way that's appropriate for her age, but I do want her to know my story. Genetic predisposition is very relevant.
Yes.
I want her to know about what it's like to have a sober father, and why it's important.
Why she's so lucky, right? Because you're here to be that sober father for her. Yeah. Yeah, your daughter's gonna. If anyone has the best situation, it would be your daughter.
Thank you. I really appreciate that.
Well, really appreciate you taking time with us. Stephen's going to be in Idaho for pretty much a full week. He's landing Sunday, and he's taking off Saturday. So we stole as much of his time as we possibly could steal from him. It's going to be amazing to have you speaking to kids and parents across the state, and I just really appreciate you helping craft this opportunity for Idaho.
Awesome. We really appreciate it too. Me and my father are really excited about it. So we will see you soon.
Sounds good. Everybody, if you guys are interested in where Stephen is going to be speaking, go to communitycoalitionsofidaho.org. We'll have all the information listed there. If you want to know if he's speaking to the kids at one of your schools, you can find that out there. And if you want to find out if you're going to miss him, how you might get an opportunity to have Stephen out, let us know. If this goes well, there's always a chance of down the road doing another one, having him come back out, hit a different part of the state. He's going to be basically hitting the west side of the state from north to south. So let's see if it goes well, and if people want it, we could plan another one. It's not a big deal. It's not outside of the realm of possibility. We just need help with the funding for this next one.
All right, David. Sounds good. Looking forward to it.
All right, guys. Well, if you guys have any questions, feel free to hit us up. All the information is down there in the description. And be safe and drug free. Have a good one.